Welcome to another episode of the comics that inspired us. I'm Jake Jacobs. This is Kurt Brugel with me, and we are doing these breakout videos of comics that we like to look at. They're independent comics, some more well known than others, and each week we go over a comic or a comic title or a comic series, and we do a quick review of it to just kind of give you a flip through and explain some goods and bads. In school, we call them glows and grows. Um, and this week I'm going to be showing. Obviously, Kurt's going to be talking about James O'Barr's The Crow, and I'm going to be talking about Flair, which is a superhero comic that came out in the 1990s with the company called Hero Graphics that was around for a while. They had a decent run. It looks like this is the character or the property of Mark Beachum, who is the main lead artist. And I believe that Flair was originally part of a super team, and she got her own solo comic. So here, this is. I'm going to be showing you. I guess we'll try to go in order. I think this is the correct order because they have two different series, Volume One and Volume Two, and I don't have Flair One Volume One, unfortunately. But I have two and three from Volume One. So let's look at those. So you can see that it
Are
is a
they all Mark Beachums?
yes. So as far as I can see, well, he's not doing the interiors here,
Oh,
but
he's
he's
just throwing
doing the
covers
cut.
up.
Yeah, but he is doing the interiors on the third story, it says.
Okay.
So this might not be a character that Mark Beachum owns. He might just be the lead artist for the run. And I think this is, I think so they have their own character line. Yeah, so they have their characters. They mentioned the Galloping Galooper, which is a weird name, and then they mentioned Doctor Arcane, which is sounds like Doctor Strange a little bit. So they have this line of superhero comics, and it looks like Hero Graphics is really centered around the TNA. You see some nice long legs here. There's definitely the good girl art angle here. Um, this looks like a bunch of setup. I mean, I see this is like a receiving line for a premiere. I don't know why they're doing it for so long here, but now we're getting into this bad guy, and he looks like this super fast guy. He's a little comedic. Um, there's a lot of text here, really small text, so it really involves storyline here. And then finally we get to this big splash of Flair. And here I'm not sure if she's an actress or a superhero or both. Um, but this is just the flavor of this comic, which is from 1988. This is the earliest one that I could get my hands on. Um, and this is not the very famous Mark Beachum. This is an artist right here, Tim Burgard, who's a little cartoony for me. So I might not be that inspired by him, but I do like there is some action here and some ass kicking. This is kind of like a super speedy hero. Here we see that Flair is hoisted on her own petard, and I'm not sure what's happening there. I think her boobs are falling out and she's covering them up, but you don't see the whole thing in that. I mean, this is what they call upskirt kind of angles. So I'm just kind of flipping through this because we have a lot here. This is a to be continued, so maybe we'll look at the next issue. You love looking at these ads. Here you can see some of the characters for Hero Graphics: the Marksman, Icicle, Rose, Ice Star, and Flare. So this was a team. It was the official. There was the champions. I think they called it the
Hmm.
champions, and it wasn't the Marvel champions. It was the Hero Graphics champions. They didn't have a copyright, so anybody could use the word. Here's the second story. It's Lady Arcane, Mistress of the Occult, and they're setting this up with a bunch of talking, and we going here into yes, this looks like kind of a Doctor Strange type of thing with guns though, and she's got her adventures. Yeah, this isn't really grabbing me. The artwork isn't so bad. It reminds me a little bit of the artist on Camelot 3,000, and I'm wondering right
Yeah,
now
good call. Yeah,
if this is
and the whole AC Comics thing.
Howard Simpson and Willie Blyberg are the artists on this. Yeah, I mean, it's very colorful. Whoever's doing the coloring. Yeah, the pencils Howard Simpson, inks Willie Blyberg, colors Janice Cohen, who is a very familiar name in the coloring. So just flipping through these Flair comics and these characters. Here we see some kind of like racy stuff. This is a little bit on the mature side, right? I'm sure this is a great, fantastic storyline here. But this is a little bit off, maybe like the quality level that you'll see from Marvel and DC. Until you get to here, Mark Beachum. Now he has worked for Marvel and DC. I'm not sure if both, but he has flirted with the bigs. And here's his backup story where he's doing Flair. I mean, is
Yeah,
this or is this not totally photo referenced? Right? And so these look like some aerobic videos
oh
from
yeah.
from the late 80s. Mark Beecham's a great artist. He really does do a lot of this kind of like gratuitous TNA stuff and upskirt stuff. I mean, there's no story here. They're just hanging around the gym working out. Um, you know, um, and there's a lot of these angles. So you wonder if he's like got a girlfriend and a camera and he's shooting all these
Oh no, he
angles.
uses models. He
Yeah,
uses models.
right. He's
Uh,
got a model,
yeah, a
he
lot
has
of
this
them.
way of doing the legs, where he does this like hatching on the legs, makes it pretty interesting, right? You can see here's a good example. And then isn't long before we have our Nazis here,
Hmm.
and so that's always a fallback. Um, I'm not sure when these storylines are set. I guess they're in the 80s, and this is like a Nazi guy in the
Yeah,
back room. But a lot of standing around talking, unfortunately. But a pretty good artist, and so I would take a shot on Mark Beachum if I saw the name. Here's the promos for the superhero comics coming out from Hero, and I don't think these did very well because I'm not very aware of them. And some of these you might even see an ad for a comic that never even came out, or maybe they did. Um, Scooting right
full
through,
color.
these are 52-page books, so they're offering a lot here in the late 80s for $3 for 275. Here we're going to see another. I see a lot. So this is good art. Now it's Barras, Baldorado, and Beecham. So Beecham is in on the artwork for this one, and you see some good anatomy and some good breakdowns, but a lot of wasted space here. Wasted space. This is page two of a comic. So they really just concentrating on foreground stuff. And this background's
Yeah.
very lazy. This background's very lazy. So, they were probably just kind of cranking this out quick as they can. Um, I mean, it still works. You have a little bit of detail here, and then the rest just kind of like fades, into just, into getting it done. And I also like the coloring, even though the colors are flat. I think they take a little and they make they maximize what they have. There's really not that much penciling and inking going on here. And so they're carrying the story. This is what I call a lot of standing around. And then finally we see Sky Marshall here. I guess this is a bad guy, or is it a good guy, bad guy? We don't know. And yeah, this is kind of slow. So these comics are a little disappointing as I'm flipping through them here. Maybe they'll get a little bit better. And Kurt, you and I were talking about modeling, face, taking like an actual known actress and using their face as the inspiration for your character. And I
Yeah.
think in the
Yeah.
1880 and the 1980s, I think maybe I'm looking at this face for this character. I'm thinking maybe Meg Ryan was on their mind, right? She
Or
was the
Melanie Griffith.
or Melanie Griffith, who are like very similar actresses, of
Yeah.
the time. And it might have literally been them that they looked at, but it varies. So now we're in series number two, and so they calling this volume two number one, and so now we're a year or two later. Heroic Publishing over here, but it's Hero Graphics over here, out of California, Long Beach, California. So let's see if they got any better. It's still a lot of the same names here. We got Dennis Malone on story, Mark Beachum, and Vince Waller. And I apologize if it's pronounced Beacom, but um, special thanks to Will Muno, who is a name that we know from a lot of indie comics. And here we go. There's more of the same. There's there is some action here, but there's no backgrounds to speak of, and kind of like some dark colors here in the backgrounds. Um, good forms, but not a lot of detail. So, they're giving you like these kind of quick spun out comics here. Um, which isn't the worst thing in the world. That means they're cranking them out at a pretty quick clip. The quality level isn't so bad, but but it does leave a little to be desired in some of the wasted space. And of course, I'm always going to complain about standing around. Here, I think this is the shadow. Is this the? I think I see that. I saw on
I don't
on
think
one.
it's the Shadow. I don't.
Yeah, I saw. Well, here, look. You see on this cover here, kind of looks like the shadow. So
Yeah, you're right, but
if they're not calling him the shadow by name, then they're definitely invoking him. And here we see again, instead of seeing like some ass kicking, fight sequence, we're just seeing the workout sequence. She's here on the
she's
ring.
a maniac.
Um,
Maniac.
um,
Can't get out of that.
right, we're going back to the 80s. So we don't know what this shadow guy is called, but he definitely looks like the shadow. And there's just workout rooms, and here she is, like semi undressed.
Semi
Um,
undressed. I don't think she has anything
chapter
on.
2, she's flying around, so now she can fly. I said this really speaks to like the working girl movie for me with Meg Griffith, I think. Was it? Yeah, and there's some standing around, some nice looking ladies, but they're standing around. Here we're gonna stand around and talk. So I'm giving people, kind of like the insight into what Flair comics are like. There's like great covers and really good modeling and positioning and drafting. Guy's not bad. Beecham's not bad penciler, but I think a real missed opportunity. I would love to see like some bad guys and some real juicy plots. To me, this is like such a waste.
Yeah, there needs to be a layer of like some detailing going on, and I think this book would get really crisp.
Yeah,
That's now look at
and
that
here,
living room. That living room's pretty decent.
right. So this is Howard Simpson doing pen. This is again Simpson and Blyberg. This is a
Uh,
backup story. Not even sure what character this is. I guess this is doesn't even say what character. But she's got kind of like this Wolverine haircut, and yeah, this is a better example. You see some backgrounds here. Um, you see a lot of interior that they took their time. Um, there's still not too many panels on a
mm,
page.
mm.
3 panels to a page, maybe 4 here. Um, they're getting through the story, and I don't know. I think they're talking about origins and upbringing and all that. But here, finally, we're getting into some action. We're getting into some like Doctor Strange activity. So this, I believe, is the Lady Arcane character again, and here we're seeing some kind of like Asgardian type characters, and they're
Yeah.
going through some stuff. I get the Dejah Thoris vibe from this, a giant splash page. Here we're seeing these mezzo tints and some of these screens that they're gluing in, uh, and then yeah, this is just right out of the Doctor Strange world to me, a female version of Doctor Strange. So at least there's some value here. Some battles going on. They're going back and forth. I don't know why there's this big dead spot here and here. To me, that would like make me nuts. Here we got the Rainbow Bridge, so that's kind of like Asgardian. So this is kind of like I would say like Marvel offshoot comics. They're really inspired by some of the more famous Marvel characters and Marvel themes. And from here, we'll just go really quick, and we're going to be flipping through Volume 2, 2, 3, and 4, and you can just see it's just more of the same. They have their formula, and they're sticking with it. Here it looks like they're mixing and matching artists. Definitely got the TNA, definitely got the upskirt. Um, and so that's the vibe here. So I bought this big collection for $18, including shipping, and so I might have paid like $3 a piece, which maybe not so bad. But I got the whole set, and I just need number one to make it complete, I guess.
You probably have number one somewhere in all those
God,
boxes of yours.
I might. Yeah, so if we got
All
this
right, man. This is good. This is
we
some
got
good
some
stuff. I'm
shadow
glad we're
guys
able to
here.
do that.
Here we have chapter three, the blonde bombshell. I'm kind of confused of whether this is like dancing around. Maybe there's somewhere where they pulled all this stuff together. I keep seeing like these pages where they goes from Mark Beachum and his recognizable style to the like other people and other like hands. Maybe even like a little Bill
Mm.
Sienkiewicz, inspiration here. But then, you turn the page and it's like, all right, well, this looks like, the backup guy, and then we go right back to this. So maybe what they were doing was they were saying like, let's intersperse Mark's pages with some other pages, and we'll just have guys coming in and doing like in between pages, and this is how they get to 52 pages. Um, yeah, and so you guys, I think you guys are getting the gist. Maybe we don't have to flip through every single one of these, but we'll take a quick.
No, I think we're good. It's a good overview of
Yeah,
what Flair and Hero graphics have to offer.
yeah.
I
This
think
reminds me.
to me they look like good reads. I mean, I if I came across the same thing,
Yeah,
including issue one, which you didn't get, I'd probably drop $20 on the whole set and have them
yeah.
and go
And
through.
you
It's
would sit there
interesting.
and get into the
Yeah,
story
I
and
think so. I
see
think
if there's
so.
anything good in the
It's.
story.
I mean, I'm not a hero comic book guy at all, but when they go outside of the Marvel DC and they try to do it on their own, and they really put their own sense of spin on it, and steer clear of the trying to act like the X-Men, the Justice League, and all that. It really good stuff comes in. And the other thing too is that they're taking this like individual character approach, so everybody gets sort of like their own feature solo, and then I guess they would hopefully come along and um, be in a team and fight some other group there. Well, thank you, Jake. Yes, I have talked many times about Mr. Obar and the Crow. I will always be talking about Mr. Obar and the Crow. This is one of my top favorite comics of all time, for many, many reasons. One of the things I divulged in an episode of Making a Turbo is back in college, there were two silent camps in the goth movement. There was the Neil Gaiman Sandman camp, and then there was the James O'Barr Crow camp. But it was never publicly talked about because there was not enough of us as goth kids to have a civil war. But I always sided on the Crow. Not a big fan of James, Neil Gaiman's Sandman, but as gothic romance goes in comics, you really cannot beat this book. Black and white, um, everything under the sun in the way of instruments, much like myself, Zipatone, um, watercolor, color pen, or color pencils like black and white or gray, and then just graphite. Um, the story is amazing. Now, the thing is this is from 1981, Ripoff Press. Um, no,
Really, rip off?
No, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. I think no, it has to be. I think it is. Oh man,
Well, look at the
I'm a little
indicia. We
stumped.
got it.
Well, this
Now
is
I
kitchen
gotta
sink.
know.
This is kitchen sink. I will double check.
Okay,
But
that's
1981 is when it
Jenna's
starts.
kitchen.
And yeah, it's just I remember picking up books, black and white books. James O'Barr's work was in it, not only just The Crow, but other pieces that he had done, and just very taken by the comic book cartoon attitude yet the graphic, and even I would dare say, like fine arts, personalized attitude about it. But then you have the whole movie, the soundtrack. Uh, there's just, I don't have one bad thing to say about it. I am in so much awe of this still today, as I am, as I was back then. This is a signed copy. You can see it's James O'Barr, 1994 in Massachusetts, Northampton, Massachusetts. My buddy and I drove up to the Word and Picture Museum, owned by Kevin Eastman, stood in line for 3 hours, and then finally got up to him and shot the breeze with him because my
Uh huh.
best friend who's with me said something about this was definitely worth the drive from Wilmington, Delaware. And James O'Barr was absolutely shocked that we had driven all the way up to see him. Um, and then, of course, spent a little extra time with us. And I think we even smoked a cigarette inside the building. but, but anyhow, um, I think the storytelling, the pacing, the artistry, the inking.
Yeah, those
You
days.
know, every artist should have a Bible in a sense, something that they're always going back to. This is one of them. Like I said, I have a short stack of books that are just off to my right, that I can reach over, grab it, get inspiration. Oh, you know what? I should do a little bit more of this or a little less of that. Or I haven't done that in a while, and going that way. And then the other thing too, one of my favorite bands is Joy Division. So there are quotes in here of Joy Division songs, decades, and it just has
They
everything.
were on the radio.
Everything. This is actually, I think this is just, it's hard to beat in black and white
Yeah,
independence. The way the screen is on there, the zip screen is in the gradation, and it's and the characters down here and the reflection. Oh,
yeah. So he's not afraid to use big open spaces and to like I talk about wasted space. I would say he's using expanses, and it's not all the time. So he's picking and choosing. I mean, he's got a lot on the page on some pages, but then some pages, it's a lot more open, and it's not bad when you're using it for dramatic effect, or or if it's or you're trying to get kind of like like a visual appeal, but when you're doing that, just because you don't have the ability to, you know, fill up a page with interesting
I
stuff,
yeah,
that's when I
I
would
am. I
criticize.
am. I'm actually just in the story again. I'm having some flashbacks. I just like I said, yeah, this I think is actually, this is from a Joy Division LEP, Passover. I'm just trying to I'm trying to get recollection for it all. I'm also a sappy romantic kind of person too. I mean, I still listen to goth industrial. Um, I like nonsensical poetry, and these are just things that I personally gravitate to, and I don't think I'm ever going to lose. And I would just love to see, and if anybody knows of anything done in the last 20 years that can match this, please leave something in the comments, because I'm always on the lookout for something like this, um,
So
to support.
let's talk about his technique. Um, so what is he using for all those gray tones?
Zips.
He's using
Well,
like
this right here, this is all wash. This is all ink wash, maybe even watercolor, um, because it's softer.
ink wash.
Mhm.
Interesting, because it looks pencilish. It looks some kind of like pencil or
There are
charcoal to
times,
me,
there are times.
like those skin tones and
Hmm.
everything. But then there's definitely very very high contrast inks.
Hmm.
Like he's really doing a lot on the page. Like I remember when we were at a con once, we were
Yes,
talking to
Dave
the
Mack.
kabuki guy, and yeah, and he
Yeah,
he was explaining he will use anything. He'll find highlighters or or oil pastels or anything laying around. He'll use collage. He'll use like anything to get it done. So I think you're seeing that here. You're seeing definite pen and ink, but you're definitely also seeing some really light other pages have these,
It's a photo again.
yeah, yeah, so photography and some really light, kind of like,
Yeah.
looks like penciled in tones, right? A big variance,
I think
and
he's using a lot of brush. He's staying with his brushes. I think there was somewhere, I think there might have been a couple pages where he used pencil or charcoal, like you said, but
yeah,
it's all
I mean,
brushy,
it's great. It's great when you can, when you can go, back and forth to these different tools, and
Well,
put
so
a
I
lot
just
on
want
the
to say
page.
this, and it's something that I think is being lost in comic books because of digital, which is one of the reasons I don't care for digital at all. Whatever you're seeing digitally on your screen, you can pretty much guarantee between a very, 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 very small margin of error by the printing machine itself that you're going to get exactly what you see. I believe that the comic book art is not completed until it's printed. So when people are trying to make pretty pictures, whether it's traditional or digital, um, you've still got to wait for that printer to print it out. And that comic book is actually the final version of the art. And I think one of the things I believe that James O'Barr is one of these individuals in a camp that I follow as well, is you're making things happen on the page in order to see what the reaction would be, not only by the print quality, but by the fact of how things shrink. Like I work 13 by 19. I know he worked large Bristol board pages, maybe even along the same lines. So there's something in the art of making comics that is being lost through digital means in order to just get a product out than there is in the artsy fartsy part of making comics, very much like Northampton, Massachusetts had, because Kent Williams, who Zuli, there's a lot, Mark Baudet, a lot of these individuals who were really in it for the arts game part of it, and the reproduction then would then indicate to you when you sat down to make the next set of pages for a book of what worked and didn't work and how you would alter and move from it. So it's really the deep or arty nerdy part of me that connects that way to this work and this working process. So yeah, the
Hmm.
thing I want to leave with is that this is just 2 pages of a little short area where it is all charcoal, graphite, pencil. So you get like as I say, like a Bible goes. You're getting a process. You're understanding this individual's process as he's going through and allowing things. Electra Sasson with Bill Sienkiewicz and Frank Miller was another book. I used to keep the two together. And it was that same, you got to see how things were being made and thinking behind the artists, in their heads, and then it gets into this, almost like Japanese manga, kind of feel. I mean, he just really, I think, spans a lot of he's a bridge, like,
Yeah.
yeah. So I will leave us with that. And, if you haven't gotten into this, please drop the money, get a copy because it is so worth it if you're into making your own comic or just finding something that actually has a healthy amount of meat on the bone when you get that book and sit down and start reading.
Yeah, a good offering, a good moment in time. A lot of different influences: the Japanese, the goth. You see different art influences too. That's a great cover right there. So yeah, definitely good. So you're always coming in with these like really high quality examples, and I'm always coming in with these like cheesecake comics. Where we're flipping through.
Yeah, I mean, if people haven't noticed already, but we have a huge amount of similarities, but there is a huge gap in us as how we go about making art, if you will. And without trying to use defining words, we also though kind of play different sides of the same coin when it comes to making comics. And I think it's one of the things that you and I bring to Turbo in the making of that comic is, I really have always enjoyed your pencils and working over the top of them because they're not so hammered down that I have to basically trace them. You give me so much freedom in the way of, you know, experimenting and letting things happen. And then when the pages will end up going to the printer, we'll see what comes back. And that I've always appreciated in our relationship
Yeah,
making
I know
comics.
it's exciting because we're just closing out our first teaser with an 8-page teaser, and we really just need to put some
Yep.
word balloons, some lettering on there, and some finishing touches, and we can start putting it out
Yeah,
as
I'm hoping to actually put a lot more work this week into it. So next week, I should be able to show off a lot more in the way of close to the end and sending off to the printer, if you will, home printing these teasers and stuff. But that's all I have, Jake. Do you have anything on the way out?
no, that's it. Just tune into our the making of Turbo Pit Fighter series, and come back here next week. We're gonna have some other cool comics to go through, and if you're watching this off into the future, then just keep binging them one after the other until they're all done. Right now it's March 5th, so 2023. So if you're listening to this and it's a long time later, then just keep hitting next, 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 and let the autoplay just wash over you as the hours fly by.
All right, Jake, I'll see you next Sunday.
All right, Kurt, later.